The space station was silent. Only the hum of old machines filled the air. The human engineer, Daniel, walked alone through the dark corridors. He had worked here for many years, fixing broken parts of this forgotten place. Few people came here anymore. The galaxy had moved on, leaving the station to rust in silence. That night, Daniel was tired. He had spent hours repairing a broken power relay, and his hands were still dirty with oil. He was ready to rest when something unusual reached his ears. At first, he thought it was just the creak of metal or the hiss of old pipes. But then he froze. It was a sound he had never heard before on the station. A faint cry. Daniel turned his head, listening carefully. The cry was soft, almost like the whimper of a child. It echoed faintly through the corridor, coming from the cargo bay. His heartbeat quickened. No children lived here. No one should even be here. "Hello?" Daniel called out, his voice trembling a little. The echo of his own voice answered him. No reply came. The cry had stopped. He hesitated. His mind told him to ignore it, to walk away. But his heart told him otherwise. He had spent too many years alone, and he could not turn away from that sound. Slowly, he picked up his flashlight and walked toward the cargo bay. The door to the bay was half open, jammed long ago. Daniel squeezed through, his light cutting through the darkness. Dust floated in the air like tiny stars. Broken crates lay scattered on the floor, covered with age. Everything looked empty, until he heard it again. A weak, breathless cry. Daniel's flashlight swept across the room and stopped. In the corner, behind a pile of old containers, something moved. He hurried closer and froze. There, lying on the floor, was a small figure. It was a girl, or at least she looked like one. Her skin shimmered faintly, pale blue in the light. Her eyes were large and bright, reflecting fear. Her clothes were torn, and strange marks covered her arms. She struggled to breathe, each breath shallow and painful. Daniel gasped. An alien. For a long moment, he just stood there, unable to move. He had heard stories of aliens before, but never had he seen one with his own eyes. The galactic law was clear. No one was allowed to harbor unregistered aliens. Punishment was severe. If anyone found her here, he could lose everything. But when she looked at him, her eyes full of fear and pain, he felt his heart soften. She was not dangerous. She was helpless. The girl whispered something in a language he did not understand. Then in broken words, she managed to say, "Help, please." Daniel knelt beside her. "You're hurt," he said softly. She nodded weakly, her chest rising and falling in uneven rhythm. He touched her hand. It was cold, trembling. She could not survive long without help. Daniel knew he should call the patrol, report her, and wait for them to take her away. That would be the safe choice. The right choice, according to the law. But he could not do it. Instead, he said, "Don't worry. I'll help you." The girl's eyes widened with surprise. A small tear rolled down her cheek. She tried to speak again, but her voice broke into coughs. Daniel quickly looked around. He saw the broken cargo pod behind her. Its metal walls were cracked and wires sparked faintly. That must have been where she had been hiding. Perhaps she had been trapped inside for days. He slipped his arms under her small frame and lifted her carefully. She was light, far too light for her size, as if she had been starving. She clung weakly to his shirt as he carried her out of the bay. The corridor felt longer than ever. Daniel's mind raced with questions. Who was she? Where had she come from? Why was she hiding here alone? As he neared his workshop, something strange happened. The station's lights flickered. For a brief second, he thought he saw shadows move along the walls as if unseen eyes were watching. A chill ran down his spine. He pushed the thought away and entered his workshop. He laid the girl gently on the workbench, covering her with a blanket. She shivered, her breathing still heavy. Daniel fetched a small oxygen unit he had built for emergencies. He placed the mask over her face, hoping it would help. Slowly, her breathing eased. Color returned to her cheeks. She opened her eyes again and looked at him with silent gratitude. Daniel sat back, still shaken. He had just broken the law. If anyone found out, his life would be over. But looking at her now, he knew he had made the right choice. He whispered to himself, "Who are you?" The alien girl closed her eyes and whispered something faint, something he could barely hear. And then the station's radar beeped. A signal flashed across the screen. Unidentified ships circling nearby. Daniel's heart sank. Whoever they were, they might already be searching for her. The encounter was only the beginning. The radar alarm kept beeping. The screen glowed red, warning of ships outside the station. Daniel stared at it with wide eyes. He felt his chest tighten. Someone was out there circling like hunters in the dark. He looked back at the alien girl. She lay weak under the blanket, the oxygen mask helping her breathe. Her small hands trembled as she tried to sit up, but her body was too fragile. "Stay down," Daniel whispered. He shut off the alarm and dimmed the lights in the workshop. He should have sent a signal to the Galactic Patrol. That was what the law demanded. The patrol would arrive, take the girl away, and maybe even reward him for following the rules. That was the safe path, but when he thought about it, his stomach turned. He remembered her broken voice begging help. Please. He remembered the fear in her eyes. If he gave her away, she would be taken, locked up, maybe even destroyed. The galaxy had no mercy for creatures like her. Daniel rubbed his face with his hands. "What am I doing?" he muttered. He had survived this long by following orders, by fixing machines, by staying invisible. He had never taken a risk this big. But now everything inside him told him to protect her. He turned to his workbench, pulling out tools and wires. "If you're going to live, you need more than this oxygen mask," he said softly, mostly to himself. The girl tilted her head, watching him with tired eyes. She didn't understand his words fully, but she seemed to trust him. Daniel began working, his hands moving quickly. He scavenged parts from broken drones, medical kits, and old station modules. His plan was dangerous. He would build her a breathing device, something like artificial lungs powered by the station systems. If he failed, she might die. If he succeeded, she could survive. Hours passed. Sparks flew as he welded pieces together. The smell of burning metal filled the room. Sweat dripped from his forehead, but he didn't stop. Every time the radar blinked with outside activity, his fear grew. But he kept working. The girl's eyes closed and opened again, fighting sleep. At one point, she whispered a single word. "Why?" Daniel paused. He looked at her, confused. "Why am I helping you?" She nodded weakly. He sighed. "Because no one else will. And I can't just watch you die." For a moment, silence filled the room. Then she gave the faintest smile, though her lips were cracked and dry. Daniel's chest tightened again. He didn't know why, but that small smile gave him strength. He finished attaching the last wires and turned the device on. It hummed softly, glowing with a blue light. He carefully fitted the small mask to her face, securing the tubes that ran into the machine. The girl gasped sharply as the machine adjusted to her breathing. Daniel's heart raced. "Come on, work," he whispered. The machine pulsed, syncing with her chest. Slowly, her breathing grew stronger, steadier. Her skin no longer looked pale. She let out a long, shaky breath and then relaxed. Daniel closed his eyes in relief. He had done it. He had given her a chance, but his relief didn't last. The radar flashed again, louder this time. A message appeared on the comms screen. "Unregistered activity detected. Prepare for boarding." Daniel froze. His blood ran cold. They were coming. He quickly dimmed the machine's lights and pulled the curtain over the workbench. He whispered to the girl, "Stay quiet. No matter what happens, don't make a sound." Her wide eyes followed him as he grabbed a wrench and moved toward the main corridor. His mind raced. If they boarded the station, they would search everything. They would find her. He needed time. He needed a distraction. Daniel hurried to the maintenance sector where old fuel lines ran. He hacked into the system, rerouting pressure. With a hiss, the pipes released thick steam into the corridors. The cameras would pick up nothing but fog. Minutes later, heavy boots echoed through the station. Voices followed, sharp and metallic through helmets. "Search every section," one commanded. Daniel hid behind a pipe, holding his wrench tightly. His heart pounded in his ears. The soldiers spread out, scanning with bright lights. The steam slowed them, but they were methodical, checking every door, every corner. Daniel gritted his teeth. He knew he could not fight them directly, but he also knew the station better than anyone. He tapped a control panel, causing a bulkhead door to slam shut behind them. Another button, and the floor panels in one hallway opened, releasing more steam and sparks. "Faulty system," one soldier muttered. "Doesn't matter," the commander replied. "Keep searching." Daniel slipped away, making sure to stay between shadows. All the while he thought of the girl. She was still in his workshop, defenseless. If they found her, it was over. At last, the commander's voice echoed again. "No signs here. Move to the next sector." The boots retreated, fading into silence. Daniel collapsed against the wall, his whole body shaking. He had just lied to the galaxy, broken the law, and risked his life for someone he didn't even know. When he returned to the workshop, the girl was still there, breathing through the device he had built. She looked at him with a mixture of fear and hope. Daniel whispered almost to himself, "I can't believe what I just did." The girl reached out her hand, weak, trembling, but it was a gesture of trust. Daniel slowly took it. He knew now there was no turning back. He had made his choice, the decision that would change everything. The station had grown quiet again. The soldiers were gone, their heavy boots no longer echoing in the corridors. But for Daniel, the silence felt heavier than before. He sat in his workshop staring at the strange alien girl who now breathed steadily through the device he had built. She looked stronger than when he first found her, though her body still shook at times. Her eyes, large, silver, and bright, studied every detail of the room as if memorizing it. Daniel noticed the way she tilted her head, listening not only to sounds but to the rhythm of the machines around her. For a long time, neither spoke. The only sound was the soft hum of the breathing machine. Finally, Daniel broke the silence. "You're safe, for now." His voice was low, almost tired. The girl blinked. Her lips moved, but no words came. After a moment, she whispered, "Thank you." Her voice was broken, fragile like glass, but it carried something Daniel did not expect: sincerity. "You can talk," Daniel said, a little surprised. "Not much, but enough." The girl nodded slowly. She touched the mask on her face and then pointed to the strange marks on her arm. Her skin carried faint lines, glowing softly in the dim light. They looked like circuits or veins made of light. Daniel frowned. "What are you?" he asked quietly. The girl looked away, avoiding his eyes. She didn't answer. That silence bothered him. He leaned forward, his elbows resting on his knees. "Listen, I saved you. I risked everything to hide you. Soldiers came here. They could have found you. I need to know the truth. Why were you hiding in that cargo pod?" Her fingers tightened around the blanket. After a long pause, she whispered, "Hunters. They destroyed my world. I ran." Her words hit Daniel like a weight. He imagined fire raining down on cities, families running, voices screaming. He wanted to believe her. But something inside him whispered doubt. The marks on her arms, the strange glow, the way the machines around the station sometimes flickered when she was near. None of it made sense. Daniel stood and walked to his console. He typed commands, checking the station logs. That's when he noticed something strange. Doors opening without his input, systems rebooting, messages filled with random symbols appearing on his screen. He turned slowly, his eyes narrowing at the girl. "You did this, didn't you?" His voice was sharp now. The girl's eyes widened in fear. She shook her head weakly. "No, But Daniel wasn't sure. He walked closer, his footsteps heavy. "Don't lie to me. I've lived here for years. I know this station better than anyone. Systems don't just act on their own. And ever since you arrived, strange things have been happening." The girl looked down, her hands trembling. Her silence was louder than words. Daniel's chest tightened with anger and fear. He wanted to believe her story, but part of him felt she was keeping something important from him. "Something dangerous. You have to tell me the truth," he said firmly. "If you don't, I can't protect you." Finally, the girl lifted her gaze. Her silver eyes glistened with unshed tears. "I cannot tell. If I do, you will fear me." Daniel froze. Those words made his skin crawl. What was she hiding that could make even him, a man used to machines and dangers, afraid? Before he could press her more, the workshop lights flickered again. The console beeped with a warning. A new message appeared. Signal detected. Unknown code inside station core. Daniel's breath caught. Unknown code? His mind raced. If someone was sending signals from the station, it could give away their position. He turned sharply to the girl. "Is this you?" Her lips parted, but no sound came. She looked guilty yet helpless. Daniel's anger boiled. He grabbed the edge of the workbench, slamming his hand down. "You said you were running. You said you were helpless, but something is wrong. Something you're not telling me." The girl flinched at his outburst. She pulled the blanket tighter around herself, curling into a small shape, as if she had been shouted at many times before. Daniel's heart softened for a moment. He hated himself for frightening her. He had seen enough suffering in his life to recognize real fear. She was no soldier. She was no fighter. Whatever secret she carried, she was still just a child. He took a deep breath and knelt beside her again. His voice softened. Look, I don't know what you are or what you're hiding, but I know this, you're in danger, and if you stay here, I'm in danger too. I need the truth, but if you can't tell me now, then at least promise you won't hurt me. The girl slowly raised her hand. Weakly, she touched his arm. No hurt, she whispered. Her touch was gentle, almost warm despite her cold skin. Daniel stared into her eyes. For a brief second, he wanted to believe her completely, but deep inside, doubt still lingered. That night, Daniel sat in his chair, unable to sleep. The girl rested quietly on the workbench, breathing softly through the device. The station outside was silent again, yet in the back of Daniel's mind, one question would not go away. Had he saved a victim? Or had he let something dangerous inside his home? The station's night cycle passed slowly. The hum of the machines echoed through the metal corridors, but Daniel could not rest. He sat at his desk, staring at the faint glow of the monitors. His mind replayed the same questions again and again. Who was the girl really? Why did the systems behave strangely around her? And what was she hiding? The girl was asleep on the workbench, her breathing steady thanks to the device he had built. The soft light of the machine pulsed in rhythm with her chest. At first, Daniel had felt proud of saving her, but now the pride was mixed with unease. He could not shake the thought that something inside her was affecting his station. When her eyes finally closed, Daniel stood and walked closer. He hesitated, then carefully lifted the blanket that covered her arms. There they were again, the glowing lines under her skin. Not scars, not veins. They pulsed faintly like living circuits. Daniel leaned closer, his heart beating fast. He touched the skin gently, and to his shock, the lights grew brighter at his touch. The console beeped. A system error flashed. Unauthorized signal detected. Daniel jerked his hand back. His blood ran cold. The glow on her arm faded as she stirred, opening her silver eyes. She looked at him with a mix of fear and sadness. You shouldn't, she whispered, her voice weak. Daniel swallowed hard. What are you? The girl sat up slowly, holding the edge of the blanket. She looked down, unable to meet his eyes. For a long time she said nothing. Then with a trembling voice she whispered, Not who you think. Daniel's stomach tightened. Then who are you? Her lips trembled. Finally she pulled the blanket away from her shoulder. There, hidden beneath the fabric, was a small crystal embedded in her chest. It glowed faintly, the same color as the circuits in her arms. Daniel's eyes widened. What is that? She touched the crystal with shaky fingers. It is alive. Inside me. Daniel took a step back. His mind raced. A crystal alive? No, he had heard rumors before. Stories whispered by traders and smugglers. Crystals that could think. Crystals that could command machines. Living AI forbidden by the Galactic Council. He stared at her, realization dawning. You're carrying one. A living AI. The girl's eyes filled with tears. She nodded. They made me vessel. I never asked. Daniel ran a hand through his hair, panic rushing through him. This was worse than anything he could have imagined. The girl wasn't just a refugee. She was a weapon, a living container for something the galaxy feared. He backed away, his voice shaking. Do you know what this means? If they find out I'm hiding you, they'll kill me. They'll destroy the station. Please, the girl cried, her weak voice breaking. I am not weapon. I don't want hurt. I just want to live. Her words stabbed at his heart. He saw the fear in her eyes, the desperate need for someone to believe her. She looked less like a weapon and more like a frightened child caught in something beyond her control. Daniel rubbed his face, torn. Why didn't you tell me before? Because, she whispered, everybody runs or betrays. Daniel's chest tightened. She was right. No one would risk their life for her. No one but him, and yet doubt still gnawed at him. Before he could speak again, the comm system crackled. A cold, metallic voice filled the workshop. Attention. This station is under surveillance. We know you are harboring an unregistered subject. Surrender the girl at once. Resistance will be punished. Daniel froze. His worst fear had come true. They knew. The girl clutched the blanket, shaking. Her silver eyes filled with terror. The voice continued, sharp and merciless. You have 1 hour to comply. The comms cut off. The room fell into silence. Daniel turned to the girl. His heart pounded in his chest. He had a choice. Hand her over and save himself, or defy the law and protect her, risking everything. The girl whispered, "I leave, save you." She tried to stand, but her legs trembled too much. She almost fell before Daniel caught her. He held her up, staring into her frightened eyes. "You can't even walk," he said firmly. "Don't talk about leaving. They'll kill you." She shook her head weakly. "Better me than you." Daniel clenched his fist. He had lived a quiet, lonely life, always obeying the rules. But now, for the first time, he faced a choice that could define everything. He looked at the girl, at the living AI crystal glowing faintly inside her chest. She wasn't who she seemed. She wasn't helpless, not entirely, but she wasn't evil either. She was just a child trapped in a nightmare, and he couldn't abandon her. Daniel whispered to himself, "If they want you, they'll have to go through me." The girl's eyes widened, and for the first time, true hope flickered across her face. Outside the station, lights glimmered as the patrol ships prepared to close in. Inside, Daniel made his choice. The hidden truth had been revealed, and now the real battle was about to begin. Red warning lights flashed across the station walls. The comm system repeated its cold command. "You have 1 hour to comply. Surrender the subject or be destroyed." Daniel's hands shook as he shut off the speaker. His workshop was drowned in silence again, but his heartbeat thundered in his ears. The girl sat on the workbench, her silver eyes wide with fear. The faint glow of the crystal in her chest pulsed faster, reacting to her panic. "They're coming," Daniel whispered, "and they won't stop." He rushed to his tool rack, pulling out an old pulse pistol he hadn't used in years. It barely had enough charge for a few shots, but it was better than nothing. He strapped it to his belt and turned to the girl. "We have to move. If they board this station, they'll find us in seconds." The girl's small hands clutched the blanket around her. "I slow you down." Daniel shook his head. "Doesn't matter. I'm not leaving you." He unplugged the breathing device from the wall and slung it across his back with quick straps. The tube stayed connected to her mask, the machine humming softly against his shoulder. Then he lifted her into his arms. She was light, far too light, but he could feel the warmth of the crystal through her chest pressing against him. The station groaned as the patrol ships latched onto the docking ports. A deep metallic thud echoed through the corridors. They were boarding. Daniel moved quickly, his boots pounding on the floor. He took the maintenance tunnels instead of the main halls. These narrow shafts were filled with pipes, cables, and the smell of rust. Few outsiders knew their layout, but Daniel did. He had repaired them countless times. Behind him, the girl whispered weakly through the mask, "Why risk all this?" Daniel didn't answer right away. His throat was tight. He could have said, "Because I'm a fool," or "Because I don't know what else to do." But instead he said the only truth he felt, "Because someone has to." The tunnel shook violently. A muffled explosion echoed through the walls. The patrol had cut through one of the doors. Voices shouted through comms, cold and merciless, "Sweep the area. Find the host." Daniel's pulse raced. He ducked into a service hatch, sliding down a ladder with the girl in his arms. The breathing machine hummed louder, struggling to adjust as gravity shifted between levels. He landed hard, knees buckling, but he held her close. Another blast rocked the station. Lights flickered. Panels fell from the ceiling. The patrol was tearing through the place section by section. Daniel reached a sealed bulkhead. He tapped the control panel, but the system demanded an override code. His fingers trembled as he typed commands. "Nothing worked, damn it," he muttered. He slammed his fist against the panel. Then the girl raised her trembling hand. The circuits on her skin glowed faintly. The bulkhead door hissed, then slid open on its own. Daniel froze. He looked at her, stunned. "You did that?" She lowered her hand, her eyes full of shame. "I told you. Machines obey." Daniel swallowed hard. He didn't know if he should be terrified or grateful. Right now, he didn't have the luxury to decide. He ran through the open door and it sealed shut behind them. The chase continued. Through the narrow tunnels, Daniel heard the pounding boots of soldiers, the hiss of cutting torches, the mechanical whir of drones flying through the air. Their searchlights swept across walls, scanning for movement. At one point, Daniel turned a corner too quickly and almost collided with a drone. Its red eye lit up, focusing on him. Without thinking, he dropped to one knee and fired his pistol. A bolt of blue light cracked through the air, striking the drone. It sparked violently and crashed to the floor. The sound echoed down the corridor. "Over there!" a soldier shouted. Daniel cursed under his breath and sprinted faster. His lungs burned, but he kept going, carrying the girl against his chest. She clung to him weakly, whispering, "Sorry. Sorry." "Don't be," he said through gritted teeth. "This isn't your fault." Finally, they reached the lower engine sector. This part of the station was unstable, abandoned for years. Pipes leaked steam and sparks rained from broken panels, but it was the one place the patrol would be slow to search. Daniel set the girl down gently behind a cluster of large pipes. He crouched beside her, catching his breath. The girl's eyes glistened. "You should leave me." Daniel shook his head. "Stop saying that." She looked down, her voice barely a whisper. "I am dangerous." Daniel leaned closer, his voice sharp. "You're not dangerous, they are. They want to use you, control you. But you're not a weapon, not to me. You're just a kid who needs help." Her lips trembled as if no one had ever said that to her before. Before either of them could speak again, the sound of heavy boots grew louder. The patrol had reached the sector. Daniel grabbed a wrench from the floor, then checked his pistol. Only 2 charges left. His throat tightened. The girl's hand glowed faintly again. The pipes around them shuddered as if responding to her. Steam burst out, filling the corridor with a thick white cloud. The soldiers shouted in confusion, their lights struggling to cut through the mist. Daniel looked at her, astonished. She had bought them time. He whispered, "Okay, maybe you are dangerous, but right now that's exactly what we need." He lifted her again and slipped deeper into the steam, disappearing into the maze of pipes while the soldiers stumbled in the fog behind them. The chase wasn't over. It had only just begun. The lower engine sector was alive with noise. Steam hissed from broken pipes, sparks rained from old panels, and the hum of dying machines echoed like distant thunder. Daniel crouched behind a wall of rusted metal, the alien girl resting against his shoulder. He listened. The patrol was close. Their boots thudded across the floor, their voices sharp. "Spread out. The subject is here." Daniel tightened his grip on his pistol. Only 2 charges left. Not enough to fight them all. His throat felt dry, his heart pounding so hard he thought they might hear it. The girl shifted weakly, her silver eyes flicking toward him. "You afraid?" Daniel forced a bitter smile. "Of course I'm afraid." She touched the crystal in her chest, its faint glow reflecting off the metal around them. "Me too." For a moment they shared the silence of fear together, but then Daniel's doubts crept back. He remembered the way she had opened doors without touching them, the way the systems obeyed her presence, the way her arms glowed like living circuits. She wasn't just a helpless child, she was something far more dangerous. He whispered, almost to himself, "Am I protecting you? Or am I protecting a weapon?" The girl's eyes widened. She shook her head. "Not weapon. Never wanted." Daniel's voice turned harsh. "But you are. You carry something inside you. Something alive. Something the galaxy fears. You could be their perfect tool. And you never told me." Her lips trembled. She reached for his hand, but he pulled it back. The rejection stung her, and she lowered her gaze, tears forming in her eyes. "Everyone says same," she whispered. "Everyone sees weapon. No one sees me." Daniel's chest tightened. Her words hurt because they were true. He wanted to believe her, but his fear shouted louder. He had risked everything for her. His life, his station. And yet, what if she betrayed him? What if she turned on him once she grew stronger? Before he could respond, a harsh metallic click echoed. A patrol soldier stepped through the steam, rifle raised. Daniel fired without thinking. The bolt struck the soldier's armor, knocking him back. The sound echoed, and more footsteps rushed closer. "Over there," voices shouted. Daniel grabbed the girl's hand and pulled her into a service corridor. The walls were narrow, the ceiling dripping water from broken pipes. He half-dragged, half-carried her as the sound of pursuit grew louder. They burst into an old storage chamber, its walls lined with broken crates. Daniel shoved the door shut and slid a heavy bar across it. Breathing hard, he turned to the girl. "Tell me the truth now. All of it." She shook her head, trembling. "If I tell you leave me, then you're asking me to fight for you blind," Daniel snapped. His voice cracked with anger and exhaustion. "I need to know if I'm saving someone who deserves saving, or if I'm just helping the galaxy's next nightmare." Her tears spilled freely now. "I was made," she whispered. "Not born. Scientists put crystal inside me. Said I was vessel. I didn't choose. I didn't want. But crystal, It feels, it thinks, it is alive, like me. We are trapped together. Daniel's breath caught. He stared at her in disbelief. A living AI inside a living body? A child forced to carry the galaxy's most forbidden creation. The girl's voice broke into sobs. I just want to be seen. Not weapon, not tool, just free. Daniel's anger melted into something heavier. Guilt. She wasn't lying. He could see it in her eyes, hear it in her broken words. She had carried this burden all her life, running from hunters, hiding in cargo pods, begging strangers for help. No wonder she had hidden the truth. But before he could comfort her, the door shook violently. Metal groaned as soldiers rammed it from the other side. The girl looked at him with wide, terrified eyes. They come, leave me. Save yourself. Daniel's jaw tightened. He pulled the pistol from his belt. No, I'm not leaving you. The door cracked open, sparks flying. A soldier forced his way in, rifle aimed. Daniel raised his pistol, but before he could fire, the girl screamed. The crystal in her chest glowed like fire. The walls trembled. The soldier's rifle sparked and shut down. Lights flickered, metal groaned, and the entire chamber seemed to bow to her will. The soldier staggered back in fear. It's her, she's activating. Daniel shielded his eyes as the glow filled the room. For a moment he thought she was about to unleash destruction. But then the glow dimmed. The soldier lay unconscious, his rifle fried, but the room still stood. The girl collapsed to her knees, trembling. See, I could hurt. But I don't want to. Daniel's pistol shook in his hand. His choice was clear now. The galaxy would always see her as a weapon. But he had seen the truth. She was more than that. He dropped the gun to the floor and knelt beside her. He took her trembling hands into his own. I believe you, he whispered. I won't betray you. Her silver eyes widened in shock. Then, for the first time, she smiled. A fragile, broken smile filled with hope. But the sound of boots and metal grew louder outside. More soldiers were coming. The room was surrounded. Daniel tightened his grip on her hands. We're out of time. If they want you, they'll have to go through me. The girl's smile faded into determination. The glow of the crystal pulsed once more. The line between betrayal and loyalty had been crossed. The storage chamber shook as the soldiers rammed the door again and again. Sparks flew from the hinges, metal bent under pressure, and angry voices shouted through the comms. Surrender the subject now. Daniel stood in front of the alien girl, pistol in hand, though he knew 2 charges weren't enough to fight an army. His breathing was heavy, his heart pounding. He had made his choice. He would not hand her over. The girl clutched the edge of his sleeve. Her silver eyes trembled with fear. Too many, she whispered. Daniel looked down at her, his voice firm. Then we make it too hard for them. The door burst open with a violent crash. Armed soldiers stormed in, rifles glowing. Their commander stepped forward, his helmet reflecting the glow of the girl's crystal. Human. The commander's voice boomed, cold and sharp. Step aside. That creature is property of the council. Harboring it is treason. Daniel raised his pistol even though his hands shook. She's not a thing. She's not a weapon. She's a child. The commander's voice grew darker. Do not be fooled. What she carries will destroy worlds. Hand her over. Daniel tightened his grip. No. For a moment, silence filled the room. The soldiers' rifles hummed, ready to fire. Daniel braced himself. He knew he couldn't win, but he refused to step aside. Then the girl stood. Her small frame shook, but her silver eyes glowed with sudden strength. The crystal in her chest pulsed like a heartbeat of light. The soldiers raised their rifles, and the machines around them obeyed her. With a surge of power, the lights exploded, the rifles sparked and shut down, and the entire station groaned as if alive. The soldiers staggered, blinded by the sudden glow. Daniel shielded his eyes. What are you doing? The girl's voice rang out stronger than before. Not destroy, protect. Energy pulsed from her body, disabling drones, shutting down weapons, sealing doors. The soldiers dropped their rifles, shouting in confusion as systems betrayed them. The commander tried to push forward, but the bulkhead slammed shut behind him. His armor sparked, freezing his movements. He fell to his knees, powerless. Daniel stared in awe. She wasn't unleashing chaos. She was controlling it, carefully, gently. Enough to stop them, but not enough to kill. When the glow dimmed, silence fell again. The soldiers lay unconscious or trapped. The girl swayed, her energy fading. Daniel caught her before she collapsed. She looked up at him, her voice weak but steady. See, not weapon, choice. Daniel's chest tightened. In that moment he understood. She had the power to kill them all, to destroy everything. But she had chosen mercy. She wasn't what the galaxy feared. She was something else entirely. He brushed her hair from her face. You're right. You're not a weapon. You're more human than half the people I've met. Her lips curved into a faint smile before her eyes closed. Exhaustion had taken her. Daniel carried her in his arms and stepped past the fallen soldiers. The station groaned as fires sparked in the distance. The fight had damaged the structure. If they stayed, the whole place would collapse. He hurried through the tunnels, the girls breathing soft against his chest. The docking bay was ahead. He had one shuttle left, an old transport he hadn't flown in years. As he entered the bay, alarms blared. The patrol ships outside were preparing to fire. The council wasn't going to wait. If they couldn't capture her, they would destroy the station with her inside. Daniel placed the girl in the shuttle seat and rushed to the controls. His hands moved quickly, powering up the engines. They coughed, sputtered, then roared to life. Through the cockpit window, he saw the glow of the patrol ships charging their weapons. He muttered under his breath, "Come on, old girl. Don't fail me now." The shuttle lifted, metal groaning as it tore free from the docking clamps. Daniel steered hard, shooting into open space just as the patrol ships fired. The station behind them erupted in flame. The shock wave shook the shuttle, alarms screaming, but Daniel forced the controls steady. When the blast faded, silence filled the cockpit. The girl stirred weakly, opening her silver eyes. "We safe?" Daniel let out a shaky laugh. "For now. But the galaxy won't stop chasing us." She reached for his hand. "Then we run, together." Daniel squeezed her hand gently. His eyes softened. Together. Outside, the stars stretched endless and cold. But inside the shuttle, warmth filled the air. A man who had lived alone for years, and a girl the galaxy called a weapon, now bound by a choice that would change everything. The galaxy would never forgive him. The council would never stop hunting them. But Daniel no longer cared. He had chosen loyalty. He had chosen her. And somewhere in the dark, beyond the stars, their story was only beginning.